Democrat Jon Ossoff, who's challenging incumbent Republican Senator David Perdue in the Senate runoff race in Georgia, was asked about Kelly Loeffler's challenger, Raphael Warnock, another Democrat who, of course, is a challenging Republican incumbent. Now, Warnock seems to be the target of a smear campaign by the right wing, and Ossoff was asked about that. But what I love about his response was how he immediately played offense. Let's take a look on how he did that.
Any concern that the allegations of wrongdoing against Reverend Warnock could possibly be a drag on the Democratic ticket next week?
None whatsoever. Reverend Warnock addressed this issue a year ago, and here's the bottom line. Kelly Loeffler has been campaigning with a Klansman. Kelly Loeffler has been campaigning with a Klansman. And so she is stooping to these vicious personal attacks to distract from the fact that she's been campaigning with a former member of the Ku Klux Klan. I mean, we deserve better than that here in Georgia. And I want to encourage everybody to make a plan to vote on Tuesday. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ossoff, very much. All right.
So that was an interview, a live interview on Fox News. So he knew the audience that he was speaking to. He didn't back down, which I certainly appreciate. Ossoff doesn't represent, the progressivism that I'd like to see, but he's definitely a better option than David Perdue, who's suspected of doing insider trading with Senate intel information regarding the coronavirus earlier this year. I love the way he handled that. Oh, you're gonna come for us. Well, we're gonna go ahead and come for you. And what he was referring to there had to do with a picture that did include a former KKK leader. Ossoff called attention to a photo that Loeffler took earlier this month at a campaign event with Chester Doles, who is a reported former leader of the Ku Klux Klan and was imprisoned for beating a black man. Doles also has ties to the Hammerskins, which the Southern Poverty Law Center calls the best organized, most widely dispersed, and most dangerous skinhead group.
Yeah, so I want to talk about a couple of things related to Ossoff based on that clip. Number one, and I want to give you context here. Number one, that was nearly perfectly handled. So when the media comes, make sure you know what you're going to say and frame your opponents in a way that changes the dialogue to about them. So they want to come at Ossoff with a smear, and he turned it around and he said Klansman 3 times. So that the only thing that anybody would remember at the end of that little interview was that Kelly Loeffler had campaigned with a Klansman. Okay, and so nice job, Ossoff. There you go. Number 2, Rebellion PAC is backing Ossoff, and before we did that, and we're running some vicious ads. So helptherebellion.com. I showed some earlier today, and nobody's ever run ads like that. The reason why is we looked into it, and I looked into Ossoff, and Ossoff is not a perfect progressive by any stretch, right? But he's great on money in politics, and he openly talks about corruption, and he calls it corruption. Now look, honestly, Bernie even doesn't even call it corruption. He barely does from time to time. Elizabeth Warren, part of the reason I liked her early on in the primaries is because she openly talked about the corruption of money in politics. And Ossoff did movies about that. His whole thing was about, his whole company was about that. So no, he's great on that issue, and it's the most important issue. So it's really important for Ossoff to win for 2 different reasons. And secondly, I think that this is really emblematic and part of why we're sharing it with you guys. Because Ossoff, when he ran for the House in a special election right after Trump had won in 2016, ran a terrible campaign. It was Democratic Consultant 101. There were like signs for civility and hugs and kisses of Republicans. And I mean, I'm exaggerating, but not by much, okay? It was an insipid, consultant-laden pile of crap, wasted, I think over $20 million and lost in an election he could have won. Now, apparently he's learned his lesson from that. And now he's running a much tougher campaign. That's why Perdue won't debate him anymore, because he hit Perdue with a 2x4 in the last debate they had. And he called him out for his corruption and how he scammed people and made millions of dollars because of coronavirus, because of insider trading, while he sold out the people of Georgia. And I'm like, there you go. So I also appreciate that Ossoff learns lessons and gets better and has what is potentially a progressive core that we could work on. So that's among the reasons why these Georgia races are so important.
So Cenk, I actually want to provide another example because Ossoff had yet another opportunity to speak to the Fox News audience. This is with a field reporter who approached him about accusations that he was working with an individual who worked at a Chinese company that had ties to the Chinese Communist Party. Like insane stuff, and I'll explain why. But first, I want you to watch how Ossoff handled that interview.
Why is it that you waited until after the primary to reveal that your business did business with a company in Hong Kong that was linked to the Chinese government?
Oh, this is utter nonsense. My company has produced multiple investigations of atrocities committed by ISIS war criminals.
But there's a payment from China that was not right. So just
answer the question. My company has produced multiple investigations of atrocities committed by ISIS war criminals. And these investigations have been aired by dozens of television channels in dozens of countries all over the world. And one of those television channels was in Hong Kong. That is the entire substance of Senator Perdue's campaign against me. And the irony of this is that Senator Perdue ran factories in Shenzhen province in cooperation with the Chinese Communist Party. Senator Perdue spent his entire career outsourcing jobs to China.
I mean, look, the last part of that, it grates on my nerves, mostly because like that talking point, whether it's Democrats saying it or Republicans saying it, is so stupid, right? Like, yeah, a lot of people, a lot of companies have been offshoring jobs from the United States to China to take advantage of cheap labor. That started under the Clinton's administration. It's been going on for a long time. It's completely destroyed our manufacturing sector. But to like tie that to, ooh, but you're engaging in scary communism. No, this is private enterprise that's looking to cut costs by exploiting cheap labor abroad. Like this is as capitalist as you could possibly get. Like like that talking point drives me nuts. But anyway, Cenk.
Yeah.
I like the way he handled it, but overall, I hate that talking point at the end.
I hear you. And if you want to be more accurate about what China is, it's a capitalist dictatorship. It's like runaway free markets. They're not really free markets. What they are, it's crony capitalism at its worst, in a sense, right? So that's what the Chinese government actually is. But anyway, on to the main point. But in that, Anna, I love that he went to produce factories in China. He's like, look, if you're talking about making money in China, they ran an anti-ISIS documentary, not in China, but in Hong Kong for me. The other guy actually outsourced your jobs. He took your jobs from Georgia, sent them to what you call the Chinese Communist government. Well, then, so if you don't like working with the Chinese, look, you know me, I would have gone further. I would say, if you don't like working with the Chinese government, then you should despise David Perdue. You should hate him for outsourcing your job to what you guys call the Chinese Communist government. So are you gonna go to David Perdue and ask him multiple times about how he outsourced jobs in Georgia to the Chinese Communist government? Are you gonna do it, Steve? Are you gonna do it? And then Steve Doocy would say, oh yeah, of course we're gonna do it, of course, right? Or Peter Doocy or whatever Doocy he is. So anyway, but overall, another home run. He clearly explained what he actually did, and he clearly explained that the question is absurd, and he clearly explained that the person who's actually guilty of what Fox News is pretending they care about is his opponent, David Perdue. So, my one slight issue with him, Anna, is that he still speaks too rehearsed like a politician and not a normal person. But it's okay, he's getting there. He's getting there, and he's saying the right things.
Yeah, he's saying the right things, but look, as long as he's willing to fight aggressively and not constantly be on the defense, which I think Democrats usually put themselves in the position of, he's demonstrating strategy that I think can be really effective. And as you're making that argument, Cenk, I couldn't help but think about the attacks that Trump had toward Hillary Clinton during the 2016 election. I mean, remember, he was really trying to present himself as like this fake populist that was concerned about jobs being shipped abroad. He would bring up NAFTA all the time. He would bring up, various deals that would allow for companies in the United States to take advantage of cheap labor abroad without any consequences. But Hillary Clinton just like would not fight back. And I'm like, dude, you should have a Make America Great Again hat on that debate stage with you. And hey, let's take a look at this label, made in China. Why aren't you employing people in the United States to make these products? But she just didn't fight back. And that was indicative of what we've been seeing from Democrats over and over again, like this fecklessness, this unwillingness to fight back. And it is honestly a fresh breath air to see Ossoff fight the way that he has been. And this isn't the first example, it's not the second example. One of the earlier examples was when he did debate Perdue and called him out for his alleged insider trading based on Senate intelligence on the severity of the coronavirus. That was important to bring up, and he got a lot of good news for that.
Yeah, one last thing on this, Anna, you're so right. We're so starved for Democrats who will actually fight back that, like, when Ossoff does what is actually, like, if you ask me, politics 101, right? It's the very first thing Republicans would do. The Republicans are on like stage 10, right, of fighting aggressively. Ossoff reached first base and was like, yes, 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 he did something obvious. Your opponent outsourced jobs to China. If he's criticizing you about China, you should hammer him with that. But you're right, it's so maddening. Why didn't Hillary Clinton ever say the hats were made in China? You do it on a debate stage and the whole country's talking about it. And then you ask him, why did you choose to do it in China? Donald, why did you choose to do it in China? Why didn't you believe in American workers? He said, oh, no, I'm a smart businessman. You gotta outsource the jobs. Oops.
Exactly.
So easy. And like I said earlier, the last thing is that Ossoff is like almost a human symbol, a personification of how the Democratic Party is beginning to get a tiny bit tougher and a little bit more progressive. It has like progressives pushed Ossoff too. Push, 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 and finally we got to first base. Okay, and if he wins on his anti-corruption stance alone, and the fact that the Democrats would then have the Senate and could pass $15 minimum wage and paid family leave act, I will definitely take it. Go to helptherebellion.com right now and help run those ads to make sure that those Republicans lose and Ossoff and Warnock win.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.